What's up, fellas? We're back with another one. It's been a minute since I actually like posted something. Uh, Quick disclaimer: I didn't actually make this art. By the way, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Well, I did make it, but I just edited the Wojak to look like myself. I didn't actually make the art. Like the actual outlines. So I didn't make that. Credit to what's his name, low budget stories for that one. He makes some interesting content. I want to say he's the best Wojak YouTuber. That's a topic for another day. Today, fellas, we're having a very different topic. So basically, it's August. School is coming back. Not looking forward to it, fellas. It's kind of what this is going to be in that kind of theme, but kind of going to be the theme of why the modern school just sucks. It's just terrible. And a lot of this is going to do with the social aspect of it. There is the more political, socio-economic side of it, because public schools are terrible because of a lot of other things, but that's for a whole other conversation. I'm not really too worried about the politics side of things for today. You don't need to hear my based hopping takes. That's not happening. Sorry, guys. That's just not the mood today. It's just not the mood at all. So sorry for the super long intro. So let's get this started. That was so 2 minutes in. I haven't even started great. So essentially, the modern school has become it's become a real reflection of how society operates in more ways than one. And well, I'm kind of coming off of the top of the dome here. So let's start with the whole social dynamics, because the social dynamics are really an easy place to start. The normies of today, the normies, they're completely clueless. Let's just say that they're completely clueless. Most of them kind of assholes. Honestly, they're it's not necessary. I mean, you can be a normie and be like a nice guy, I guess, but it's. I don't really want this to become a rant of normie bad, because there's kind of a lot of that going on within pretty much any circle which is even remotely niche. I So there's the normies, but what I really want to talk about is the unspoken middle, because I feel like I made a graph about this. Maybe I'll show it on the screen. Yeah, I'll probably do that. I haven't even thought this out, by the way. I'm literally going off the dome. So if I actually did, I'll include it. But anyways, basically at the top, people only talk about the top and the bottom. And they like to organize themselves that way. So either you're at the top, you're a Chad, normie, rich kid, very popular guy, or you're at the bottom, complete loser version, complete nerd. And people kind of tend to think of it in that sort of way. But I feel like that's kind of a false dichotomy, because there is a middle, a huge middle, which I feel like is actually the majority. Yeah, the majority of people I feel like are in the middle. I like to call these the NPCs. Now there is some nuance to this, but the NPCs are basically those people who aren't popular enough for anybody to really, you know, care about them, to say the least. But they aren't obnoxiously uncool or whatever, where people will bully them. They're just kind of there. And most people fall into this category. Most people fall in their category. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this. So most people fall into the NPC category, and those guys are normies. But I feel like this is really where the problems are, because these people are either it's a mixed bag, because it really depends on why they're there. So if you're there just because you're just some guy, no one really cares about you. You're just some guy. I mean, you're just like kind of just an NPC. So not really any strong opinions there. But really, there's these people I like to call hybrids, right? Me and my friends, we came up with this term hybrids. And they're like half normie, half reject, and they've got this weird, interesting thing going on where they really, really want to be like a popular guy or girl, whatever. I think it's way more common with girls, but I guess it could be a guy too. But they aren't, so they become very resentful of the people at the top, and they also want to, establish their social status. They do that by putting the people at the bottom, like the very bottom. They like to push those people down. I know because I've gone through this from experiences. Many people like this at my school. I literally hate them more than the normies actually, because the normies, uh, you know, yeah, they're annoying and stuff, but they don't like go out of their way to harm you usually. And even if they do, it's not like super hard to gain their respect or just get them to leave you alone. Because honestly, like for me personally, I'm just not like there are just bigger, more. There's just people who are easier to make fun of than me. Not, and the reason why is just because they react a lot more. I don't really care, and the normies, like, there's just much like better people to pick on than me. So usually they don't really mess with me that much. They do not like me. I do want to make that clear, but they don't really bully me in the same way they might bully a furry. Sorry if you're a furry, but you're kind of weird, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, anyways, these people in the middle, these hybrids, they're the most annoying type of people, and the thing is, they are the majority. I feel like there's them and then the other guy that I talked about, just a regular NPC who's just some guy. They're the majority of people are one of those two. And a lot of people miss this. Now, can a hybrid be a normie? Yes, they can actually climb their way up to a normie, or to like a popular normie anyway, because they are half normies, but they never will truly fit in with them. And that's kind of because they're a half reject. What I mean by that is they do genuinely have some niche interests and stuff, and genuinely have some things that aren't really super normal. So they won't really fit in with the popular high tier normies, even if they get there. But the same thing applies to the bottom because they have that half normie part of them, along with that type of mentality that they want to put people down who are below them. So they don't actually vibe with the true outcasts, as I like to call them, true outcasts. So they get into this weird point where they aren't really accepted by either, and the only people they're accepted by are other hybrids like themselves. And these people I hate with a burning passion because they always feel the need to push on people lower than them. And these people are really like when people talk about bullies, they are in the hybrid zone usually. At least bullies who are bullying because they are like, out of genuine hatred. Because there's a difference between bullies just bullying you just to pick fun at you, because those are genuinely pretty easy to deal with. You just don't react and they'll leave you alone. And those usually tend to come from the higher tier normies. Like some jock who's like the captain of the football team's not going to waste his time just like mindlessly beating the shit out of a nerd for no reason. Like, sure, they'll make fun of them, but they're not going to like genuinely try and ruin their lives. The hybrids are the guys who try to do that. And I know this from experience. I'm not going to go too much into detail with that because that's not really what this video is about. But let's just say it was like really bad. So, reputation ruined, shattered, permanent true outcast. Permanently, there's no changing it. Let's just say that's how bad it is. And I think it's really important for people to realize this because, especially in like the punk and alternative community, there's a lot of these hybrids out there, especially in those circles because those circles, there's an aspect to them where it's like, not to say they aren't like, not to say they're like normie things because they aren't, but they're much more accepted than some other things. Like, let's take me for example. I'm really into history, specifically German military history, Victorian history, that type of stuff. Really nerdy about it. That kind of thing, I mean, it's not the weirdest thing ever, but the whole, but it's definitely not like a cool thing. Like normies don't really vibe with that stuff, you know what I mean? It's not something they're gonna vibe with too much. Gonna think you're kind of a nerd, especially when you get more into the political side of things. Definitely gonna think you're a nerd, and that goes for a bunch of other interests too. Video games. I feel like for video games, it really depends because it's starting to become a normie thing. It depends on what games you actually play. Uh, depends on that. If you're one of those Discordians, as I like to call them, as people who literally live on Discord, yeah, you're definitely in that category. Anime, it depends on what animes you watch. Also, I think for the anime one, it depends on what animes you watch. I don't like anime. I just want to throw that out there, so I could be wrong about that. But it's like those type of interests normies actually don't like a lot. Like they really hate those interests. Um, they really don't like them. I can't really say they don't like hate. They hate the metalhead and punk communities too much. To a degree, I feel like more of their hatreds towards the emos especially. Out of those punks, maybe metalheads, not so much. Definitely not grunge anymore because grunge, like normies at my school will listen to grunge. Grunge is like the most. It's a very normie thing. Sorry, you're not alternative if you listen to grunge, but that's a whole other tangent. But essentially, like it's in the middle ground where it's kind of safe. Actually, anime and video games as nerdy hobbies kind of fit into this, where it depends on what type of games you play. And there are some games you can get away with being super nerdy about, uh, while still having like a decent social ranking. And I do want to emphasize that the hybrid thing is more of a girls thing. And I feel this way because men, just in general, do not care as much about social status as women. This is just like a biological fact. So more hybrids are going to be women, and that's why the women in the alternative circles I've noticed are very problematic, very annoying. I don't like any of them, or most of them anyway, because there are some good ones, cool ones. And that's the reason why is because they have the hybrid mentality of trying to one up people and stuff. They're the worst type of people. I really don't like them. And those guys with that chip on their shoulder about not being the popular ones, because and they will take it out on you. They will take it out on you. Find any reason to take it out on you if they perceive you as lower than them or they want to make you lower than them. And there's always a bunch of drama, way more drama than the popular kids, honestly, in those groups. I know because I've been there and I've seen hybrids in action. Terrible, terrible experience. Like genuinely terrible experience. And hybrids, they're the main drivers of conflict in the world. And that's really the thing because the normies, yes, they like the high tier normies, yes, they do cause conflicts, not denying that. But with them, they don't do it out of like pure spite usually. Say usually because there are some instances where they do that. A lot of the times they're just trying to be a jerk and just you know that it is what it is. The hybrids will genuinely try and ruin your life, and I know this from experience because they have ruined my life. And a lot of the world's problems come from that. And I think I really want to know if other people feel the same way about these people in the middle. Now, in the middle, there are a lot of other groups too. Like you could throw in all a bunch of more groups. You could really make the graph. You know, if I'm definitely going to include graph in this video now that the graph that I made now that I'm thinking about it, and I'll include it, and you guys can see the kind of intricacies that I put in there. But to sum it all up, most people are actually in the middle. Believe it or not, most people are actually average. I know, shocking. And and we got to realize that I think this is going to lead into my next topic is that most people who consider themselves kind of rejects or outcasts aren't what I would call a true outcast. And what is a true outcast? A true outcast, and this is like the second part of it. True outcast, someone who's genuinely rejected by not just the normies, but also the people in the middle. I feel like you have to be rejected completely by both, not just like, oh, it's kind of with some, and no, like 100% both don't like you to be a true outcast. For a reject, it has to be just like the normies, the high tier normies, and the NPCs and some of the, guys in the middle. They can like you like that. That you can be a reject and have those guys like you. It doesn't affect your social ranking too much. It depends, but that's all. And again, another whole other thing. And the true outcasts. Let me give some examples of the true outcasts. You probably see on the graph. Incels. Those guys are true outcasts. Nobody likes incels. You'll have like neo Nazis, right? Nobody likes them. Like nobody actually likes them. Go out on the street, ask 100 people. 100 people will be like, no, I don't like Nazis. Those people are actual outcasts, and I know a lot of people aren't gonna like that, and that's because they have this kind of ideation where if you're an outcast, you're a little guy, and then that makes you a victim or whatever. It doesn't really work like that. No, you can be an outcast without being a victim or not being a good person, which actually leads me to the next one. You'll have a lot of interesting characters. Let's say that a lot of creepy, interesting characters who also would be true outcasts. Beyond them, you'd have like people who are like juveniles, like always in and out of juvie and stuff. I can't speak super strongly on that one because I haven't gone to juvie, and I don't have too much experience with those people. But from what I can gather, they belong in the true outcast or reject category, depending on a bunch of social stuff. But and then I put the true like doomers, true emos. I wrote emos because I was kind of trying to make a point because I was sharing with my buddies that most of them aren't actually true outcasts. Most alternative people aren't true outcasts. You're not gonna have normies in the street like giving you the middle finger, like if you're an incel or a Nazi or something like that. Like no, you don't get that treatment. Again, a lot of people aren't gonna like that, but it's the truth. You don't. You only get that if you're in like the like true, like genuine, like loser territory. Now, again, take this with like some nuance. I don't mean like literally people in the street need to like give you dirty looks and give you the middle finger. You know what I mean? Like you have to be like actually disliked. Um, this in this category, you have very little friends. It can be higher than zero, but no higher than like three. Or if it is higher than three, they got to be like online friends. Like me personally, I have maybe two friends in real life, and I'm not really super close to them. And then I have all my buddies from my hometown, which I'm all friends with, but they're from it. Like I live like an hour or two away from them, so I don't really get to talk to them like on a daily basis like I used to. I mean, can through like the internet, but that's not the same. So yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at there. The true outcasts, the people at the very bottom, that actually includes the quiet kids. That's a huge part of this. The quiet kids are the main true outcasts you meet. Those guys are the actual emos, the actual alternative kid. Like you can be a reject while still being in the alternative. I'd say you could still be alternative while in the reject type of thing, but you can't if you're like in the middle. Like you can't. I'm sorry. Fuck off. You can't be that, and it's really annoying for me because a lot of them are in the middle. A lot of them are in the NPC territory. A lot of them are the hybrids, and they're really annoying. Really annoying to deal with. Um, I do want to stress this because it makes my point a little clearer. It isn't like to me, it isn't strictly a music thing. It's more of a culture thing. Just wanted to point that out. So yeah, the true outcast. I feel like very rough life. Very rough times. Like I'm talking like zero friends fully by everyone. You have to like gotta kind of go through it yourself. And this kind of wraps all the way back around to why I'm not excited for high school because I unfortunately at the very, 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 very bottom because of I have a terrible reputation, which is half self inflicted, half of it is just rumors. There's a lot to it, a lot of lore. I'm not gonna get into all that right now because it's not the point of this. Basically, reputation ruined me, along with other things that are like just personal things that I'm into and just kind of the way I am, values, stuff like that. So, the point I'm trying to make here is true outcast, they have it like most people aren't the true outcast, for one. For two, true outcast life is terrible because I'm living it and it's not a good time. And that's why I'm not excited for high school because high school, it's it's interesting. It's interesting. It's a very oh, I do want to make this clear. I am going into my second year, not my first year. First year was last year. So yeah, I'm going in my second year now. Anyways, like I was saying, um, not excited to return to high school because I have to deal with all the bullshit that comes with being at the true outcast level every day. And sometimes it's just not anything actually. And those are kind of the most crushing days because you will have those as that kind of quiet kid type of. Because I am the quiet kid at my school. You will have those days where nothing happens. No one talks to you. No one actually pulls you in. There's two sides of that. They can either be really nice, peaceful, and refreshing, or they can be absolutely crushing, depending on how you look at it. It really depends on my mood for me. But yeah, and what I do want to say here is like the overarching point I think that I'm trying to make here because I'm that most people aren't actually outcasts. Like, sure, they could be rejects, which is another thing. They are very similar, I'd say. They can't, but most people aren't true outcasts, I'd say, where they're like genuinely isolated. And there's two ways you could look at this. You could look at it kind of optimistically, which is like good, because like most people don't have to deal with that. Most people have at least something going on. But at the same time, it's very lonely if you're on that true outcast level because you don't really make friends at that level unless you've got like a really big school or a really big community. If we're speaking more broadly here, and the true outcasts, that kind of true outcast mentality that is given to you by reaching that level, that kind of experience, those stick with you for a long time. Or at least I think. I don't really know. I haven't gotten there yet. It hasn't actually been a long time. I only moved here a few years ago, so that's when that began. So, uh, yeah, the true outcast. I feel like that stuff types kind of sticks with you, and I don't know if it really goes away. Probably it doesn't, and it will. People, I feel like, can sense it. I feel like they can. There's a lot of other things, a lot of nuances to this. And I think that's where I'm gonna end it off because I've been rambling. I hopefully that made sense because I didn't really script this. I didn't have any idea. I just wanted to say some things out. That's all I wanted to say, fellas. Peace out, I guess.